I didn't believe in the number 666, at least. Not in the way people shouted about it. I thought it was just some old church superstition. One of those scary bedtime stories meant to keep Christians in line. But I was wrong, terribly wrong. Because when I died for 14 minutes in the back of my husband's car, I found myself standing on the edge of a fiery abyss, and a voice said to me, "This is what 2026 holds for the unrepentant, and this is the mark of their loyalty." Then I saw it, branded, seared, screaming from the foreheads and hands of men, women, and even children. 666. This is my testimony. This is what Jesus showed me in hell. And I'm begging you, please, don't scroll past this, because what I saw is already happening, and most people don't even know they're part of it. Mine. Before I share this painful story, I want to thank everyone who has supported this channel with love, encouragement, and prayer. To every subscriber, commenter, and sharer, you are more than a number on a screen. You are helping to carry the gospel into dark corners. Your words give us courage. Your prayers open hearts. This channel was never meant to entertain. It was born out of obedience to God's call. So whether you're here for the first time, or you've been following our testimonies for a while now, thank you. Thank you for not ignoring truth. Thank you for caring about souls. And if you haven't subscribed yet, but you believe in real stories of God's mercy, judgment, and love, please do. We need each other now more than ever. My name is Sarah Matthews. I'm 39 years old, and what I'm about to tell you happened in April 2024. But to understand why it happened, you need to know who I was before it all. I grew up in church. My father was a deacon. My mother led the choir. We never missed Sunday service. We said grace at every meal, and yet for all the rituals and routines, I never knew God. Not really. By the time I turned 25, I was living a double life. On the outside, I looked like a good Christian woman, modest, smiling, even teaching Sunday school sometimes. But behind closed doors, I was addicted to pornography. I flirted with married men. I lied without blinking. I worshipped success, not Jesus. I cared more about my Instagram following than the state of my soul. I was what Revelation 3:16 calls lukewarm, not hot, not cold, just comfortable. And I thought I was fine. I had a husband, a job in fashion marketing, and friends who always told me how authentic I was. But behind that curated image was a woman who didn't pray unless she was in trouble, a woman who didn't read her Bible unless she wanted to post a verse, a woman who had made peace with sin, telling herself, "God understands, at least I'm not as bad as others." I ignored the conviction in my heart like it was background noise. I remember watching a video once about 666 and the end times. Some preacher was crying and begging people to repent. I laughed, actually laughed. I said to myself, why do they always use fear? God is love. Hell isn't even real. It's just symbolic. But I was wrong. I didn't know that my sins were growing like weeds, choking my spirit little by little. I didn't realize that pride had become my God. I didn't understand that God's mercy has a boundary, and I was playing right on the edge. In March 2024, I started getting sick. It wasn't serious at first, just fatigue, headaches, dizziness. I blamed it on stress. I kept pushing, until one morning, I collapsed in the parking lot of my office. My husband rushed me to the emergency room, but the doctors found nothing wrong. They said it was exhaustion, but something deeper had broken. By April, I couldn't work anymore. I was bedridden most days, and I remember lying in that bed, scrolling through TikTok, watching prophetic dreams and testimonies, yet still, I refused to change. Still, I clung to my pride. Still, I said, God is too loving to send me to hell. The night before it happened, April 17th, I had a strange dream. In it, I saw the numbers 666 spinning in fire, and a voice said, "They are already choosing the mark without knowing." I woke up drenched in sweat, but instead of praying, I went back to watching makeup tutorials on YouTube. I was numb, spiritually deaf, and completely unprepared for what was coming next. It was April 18th, 2024, a Thursday. I remember the sky was strangely overcast that morning, even though the weather app promised sunshine. My husband had insisted we go for a drive, hoping fresh air would revive me. I didn't want to go. I felt weak, nauseated, my limbs heavy, but something in me whispered, "Say yes." So I did. I got into the back seat of our SUV, curled up against the window, and closed my eyes as he drove. We were barely 20 minutes into the trip when it happened. It wasn't dramatic. There was no crash, no scream, no flashing lights, just a sudden stillness in my chest, a vacuum. I opened my mouth to breathe and felt nothing. No air, no pain, just absence. Then I heard it. A loud tearing sound, like cloth being ripped from heaven to earth, and in a flash, I was outside my body. I saw myself slumped in the seat, eyes wide open, unmoving. My husband shouting my name, panicking, pulling over, calling for help, but I couldn't answer. I couldn't go back. Something had taken me beyond the veil. I floated upward at first, weightless, detached, watching the scene from above, and then suddenly, I was yanked, violently, dragged down like gravity had snapped its fingers. It wasn't a gentle descent, it was a fall, spinning, screaming, collapsing through dimensions of thick darkness. There were no stars, no time, only shadows that breathed and cold fire that burned without light. Then came the sound that still haunts me, wailing, not like crying, but howling. Men, women, children, all locked in invisible torment. They screamed like animals in a slaughterhouse, and layered beneath their screams were growls, non-human, guttural noises that rattled the air itself. I covered my ears, but the sound was inside me. The smell was worse, like burned hair, open wounds, rotting garbage, and sulfur, multiplied by 1,000. I gagged. I felt my spirit choking. But you can't die again when you're already in death. Then came the heat. It didn't just burn my skin, it burned through me. Every lie I ever told, every flirtatious glance, every website I shouldn't have clicked, every time I silenced God's voice, I felt them. I relived them. In one agonizing second, hell replayed my rebellion to me, and then I saw them. People, countless people, standing, crawling, running, yet not moving forward. They were bound, chains on their hands, marks on their foreheads. The same mark, 3 bold numbers glowing red, 666. Some tried to claw at their faces to remove it, but it was branded deep into their being. Others screamed at the sky, begging for mercy, but the sky above them was not heaven. It was a swirling pit of smoke and eyes. Yes, eyes watching, mocking, feeding on their despair. One man stood near me. He was dressed in a business suit, still holding a cell phone that flickered like it was trying to reconnect. He looked right at me and said, "I thought I had time." Then a demon, horned and grotesque, pulled him back into the fire like a dog on a leash. I trembled, I wept, and just when I thought I couldn't bear it anymore, a voice thundered through the abyss. "The mark is not just coming, it has begun." Then I saw a calendar. It hovered in front of me like a vision. The months rolled fast. May, June, October, 2025. Then it stopped at 2026, April. The days turned red one by one, and I heard, in this year, many will make their final choice. not by force, by deception. The voice was both terrifying and tender, like it grieved what it was forced to show me. I tried to speak. I tried to say, "Why me? Why show me this?" But I had no voice. Just tears that evaporated into smoke. I was in hell. I was surrounded by damned souls, and I had no way out. Until a single word echoed in the distance: mercy. I was on my knees in hell, but they weren't knees like on earth. There was no solid ground to kneel on. It felt like I was suspended in pain, in regret, like time itself had frozen around my rebellion. The flames didn't consume me completely, but they licked at my soul like they knew me, like they had a right to me. And the worst part, I felt forgotten. By heaven, by mercy, even by my own name. I whispered within myself, "God, I didn't know it was this real. I didn't know. I didn't." But the silence that answered me was heavy with truth, because I had known. Deep down I had always known. Suddenly, everything around me shifted. The howling faded. The torment paused. The very temperature changed, as if hell itself had to step back. And then, in that thick, suffocating blackness, a light appeared. But it wasn't like earthly light. It didn't blind. It didn't cast shadows. It revealed. It pierced the hopelessness, like a sword dipped in compassion. Out of that light, a figure stepped forward. I couldn't look directly at him, not because he was frightening, but because I was filthy. I felt my soul curl into itself, ashamed to even exist in his presence. But he spoke, and the sound of his voice was unlike anything I can describe. It wasn't just heard, it was felt, like waves washing over every cracked part of me. He said, "I did not create this place for you." Tears poured from my spirit like waterfalls. I wanted to crawl into his voice, hide in it, disappear. He continued, "My blood was enough, but you loved your sin more than me." Each word went through me like fire, not hell's fire, but holy fire, the kind that doesn't destroy, it reveals. And in that moment, I saw my entire life. Every time I ignored conviction, every time I said I'll repent tomorrow, every sermon I mocked, every moment I scrolled past someone preaching on TikTok or Instagram because it made me uncomfortable. I whispered, I'm sorry, please." And Jesus knelt down and looked directly into me, not at me, into me. Then he said something I'll never forget. 2026 will be a year of sealing. What they think is convenience is a covenant. What they embrace in ignorance will lead many here, and their pastors will not warn them. I gasped. He showed me flashes, faces of influencers, celebrities, even preachers, smiling as they encouraged unity, inclusivity, one world peace. But beneath their messages were contracts, agreements, digital acceptance of spiritual deception. Then Jesus said, "Go back and warn them. Your time is not yet come. I have allowed you to feel the fire so you may speak with fire." I cried out, "How will they believe me?" And he said, "Some won't, but tell it anyway. The blood will not be on your hands." Then he stretched out his hand, not to take me by the wrist, but to touch my heart. And as soon as he did, the flames vanished, the weight lifted, and I felt myself pulled upward faster than sound, back through the dimensions, back through the veil, back to my body. I gasped, awake inside the back seat of our car, paramedics shouting, my husband sobbing, a defibrillator at my side. They said I was gone for 14 minutes, flatlined, no heartbeat, no brain activity. But they didn't know. I had been to hell, and Jesus had pulled me out, not because I deserved it, but because he still had a message to speak through my ashes. The moment I opened my eyes in that ambulance, I knew I wasn't the same. I didn't scream or panic. I didn't ask what happened. I just whispered, "Jesus, thank you." The paramedic leaned in, confused, but I wasn't talking to him. I was talking to the one who had pulled me from the depths of fire. I spent 4 days in the hospital. They ran every test. Heart, lungs, brain, all came back normal. They couldn't explain what happened, but I could. When I returned home, I deleted every social media app, every video, every picture, every brand I'd promoted that glorified pride and worldliness. I erased them without hesitation. I burned journals full of toxic affirmations. I cleaned my home, physically and spiritually. I cut off people I once called safe, but who were dragging me into compromise. I started fasting, not just food, but distractions. I hungered for the word, like a dying woman craves air. And something else changed too. My fear of people died. I used to worry about being too radical or too spiritual. Now, I'd rather be mocked by men than be found lukewarm by God. I started warning everyone, my family, my coworkers, even strangers. I told them hell is real. I told them Jesus saves. I told them 2026 is not just another year, it's a divine line being drawn. And what we align with now determines what seals us later. Some laughed, some avoided me. A few listened and wept, but I no longer cared about reactions. I cared about souls. Because when you've felt hell's grip and tasted heaven's mercy, you don't live casually anymore. You live like eternity is one breath away, and it is. If you're watching this, it's not by accident. Hell is not a metaphor. It's not a scare tactic. It is real and more terrifying than any words I could speak. Jesus didn't show me hell to punish me. He showed me because he still loves you. He showed me so I could warn you. Please, don't play with sin. Don't flirt with rebellion. Don't excuse lukewarmness. What you tolerate today could torment you forever. Repent, turn around, ask Jesus to truly save you, not just cover you in convenience. Because 2026 isn't just another year, it's a gate, and many are walking through it blindly. I want to leave you with this question. Do you believe hell is real? And more importantly, if you were to die tonight, where would your soul go? Please, don't brush this off. If you've ever had a dream, a warning, or a strange pull to get right with God, this is your confirmation. Let's talk in the comments. Have you ever felt God calling you to wake up before it's too late? Do you think we're already in the beginning stages of this prophetic season? Drop your thoughts, testimonies, or questions below. We're reading. We're praying. Thank you for watching. May God keep your soul safe. Until next time, stay ready.